The origin of Dragnipur carries an ominous significance as profound as its powers. Forged by Draconus, an elder god endowed with immense power and ancient wisdom, Dragnipur was not crafted merely as a weapon of war, but as an instrument with a grand and overarching purpose: to contain chaos. In the Malazan universe, chaos is more than a mere concept of disorder or turmoil. It is depicted as a primordial and cataclysmic force that fundamentally threatens the very fabric of existence. This destructive, consuming entity transcends the typical notion of disarray, representing a form of raw, unbridled energy capable of unraveling the order of the universe. Draconus believed that darkness, another fundamental force in the Malazan universe, could not withstand the onslaught of chaos without assistance. Thus, Dragnipur's creation was intrinsically linked to this cosmic battle between these primal forces. Draconus, recognizing the vulnerability of darkness to the onslaught of chaos, crafted the sword to perpetually carry the gate to darkness away from chaos's pursuit. This gate leads to Kurald-Galain, the ancestral realm of the Tisteandi, imbuing Dragnipur with a deep connection to the Tisteandi race. The sword contained within it a wagon, the purpose of which was to perpetually carry the gate to darkness away from the relentless pursuit of chaos. This extraordinary mechanism symbolized Draconus's attempt to preserve the balance of power and protect the realm of darkness from being overwhelmed. The intricacies of how Draconus managed to bind such immense forces within Dragnipur remains a mystery, a testament to his unparalleled skill and the depth of his understanding of the universe's arcane forces. The creation of Dragnipur was a monumental undertaking by Draconus, stretching over eons, dating back to an era known as the Time of All Darkness. This period, shrouded in the mists of the primordial past of the Malazan world. However, the sword's inception was clouded by a dark prophecy, set in motion over 100,000 years before Burn's sleep. In this time, Draconus, along with Cruel and the Sister of Cold Nights, placed a curse on Kala for killing an entire nation. In a vengeful twist, Kala cursed them back. To Draconus, he ominously foretold, "What you create shall be turned upon you." This curse cast a shadow over Dragnipur's destiny, as Dragnipur was created by Draconus. The curse, however, was not the only obstacle in the sword's path. Draconus's own hubris and arrogance, coupled with his lack of foresight, led to a critical mistake in the sword's creation. He forged Dragnipur with the Gate of Darkness inside it, a decision that would have far-reaching consequences for the sword and the world at large. Draconus, undeterred, continued his work on the sword, a labor spanning the ages. He revealed to Cruel and the Sister of Cold Nights that the sword he was forging, invested with a power of finality, was nearing completion. The conversation that followed their encounter with Kala led to Cruel advising Draconus to consider altering the sword in light of the curse, advice that Draconus acknowledged with the promise of reflection. The fulfillment of Kala's curse came to pass when Draconus was later slain by Anomander Rake, the very individual who would become Dragnipur's most notable wielder. Dragnipur's mere physical presence is a testament to its extraordinary nature, befitting its role in the Malazan world. This two-handed sword, adorned with a silver dragon skull pommel and an archaic cross-hilt, is not just a weapon but a symbol of awe-inspiring power. Its scabbard alone stretches a formidable 6.5 feet, hinting at the immense size of the blade it conceals. When drawn, Dragnipur is more than metal and craftsmanship. It groans awake as if sentient, emitting chains of smoke and filling the air with a chorus of moaning, a haunting embodiment of the souls it has claimed. Its mere presence radiates terror, and its touch is lethal in a way that defies ordinary combat. Wounds inflicted by it, even those seemingly non-fatal, can lead to death, as the victim's blood boils and turns to ash upon the blade. But Dragnipur's true terror lies in its powers and mechanisms. It is a sword that does more than kill. It traps the souls of those it slays within a warren, a unique realm within the Malazan world. Each soul captured strengthens the sword, intensifying its dark connection to the realm of darkness. Its pivotal function, however, is in its relentless battle against chaos. Within the warren of Dragnipur is an immense wooden wagon, with wheels as tall as a man burdened with the weight of a gate, the Gate of Darkness. This wagon, eternally pursued by the forces of chaos, is drawn by chains linked to the souls of those slain by the sword, creating a perpetual cycle of flight and pursuit. When souls in Dragnipur became too exhausted to pull the wagon, they were stacked on the wagon top in a pile. The result was an unsustainable demand for new souls to pull the ever-increasing load in the flight from chaos. There were two options: taking new souls by killing with the sword, or shattering the sword to release the Gate of Darkness to its natural migration patterns. The former would lead to chaos catching up, while the latter would release former enemies. The decision was a difficult one. Rake recognized that using the sword less frequently would lead to an unsustainable situation, hastening the approach of chaos. He also understood that shattering the sword would release potentially dangerous beings, including the elder god Draconus, who was imprisoned within it. Rake's choices regarding the use of Dragnipur, including his decision to reduce killings, were driven by his deep understanding of the sword's impact and the need to balance its power. Anomander Rake's leadership of the Tiste was not just a matter of power, it was a response to the lack of purpose his people suffered after Mother Dark turned away from them. Rake's long tenure as their leader was marked by efforts to give the Tiste a sense of direction and unity, despite internal dissent and questioning of his decisions. His legendary status stemmed not only from his immense power and participation in world-altering events, but also from his impactful use of that power to shape the fate of his people and the world at large. The purpose of Dragnipur was central to Rake's long-term strategy, particularly in addressing the issues stemming from the Tiste disconnection from Mother Dark and the Tiste civil war. Dragnipur, containing the gate to Kur-al-Galain, was a crucial element in this plan. Draconus' mistake in forging Dragnipur with the gate inside it necessitated a solution that involved releasing the gate back into the world, thus making it accessible to the Tiste once again. Shadow Throne likely the masterminder plan with Hood and Rake. The attack by the Hounds of Shadow was a part of this intricate plan, serving to aid Hood's manifestation in Darujistan. Hood's participation was essential as the god of death tired of his role, he sought a way out, and his legions of the dead were critical in holding off the forces of chaos. The plan to break Dragnipur, however, was layered with complexity. The sword was a prison containing many powerful and monstrous beings amassed over millennia. Simply breaking the sword would have freed these beings, posing a considerable risk. Therefore, the massive battle against the forces of chaos within Dragnipur served a dual purpose. Firstly, it acted to eliminate many of the prisoners who would have otherwise been released upon Dragnipur's breaking. Secondly, it bought the necessary time for the execution of the rest of the plan, ensuring the safe relocation of the Gate of Darkness and preventing its exposure. In this regard, Hood, the god of death, approached Anomander Rake. Hood, having reconsidered his position in the grand scheme, uttered, "Son of Darkness, I have reconsidered," before Rake abruptly decapitated him with a swift clean cut through the neck using Dragnipur. This sudden act cheated Traveller, also known as Dasim Ultor, of his intended revenge against Hood. Hood's soul, now in Dragnipur, summoned all the dead from his realm to join the souls already chained to the wagon, bolstering the defense against the relentless legions of chaos. Whiskey Jack, a fallen Malazan commander, took charge of Hood's formidable army, now joined by notable figures such as Bruchalion and the Grey Swords, Dujek One Arm, Bolt and the revered Seventh Army, along with the legendary Bridge Burners. As the battle raged and each of Hood's defenders fell, their souls faced the finality of oblivion. The role of Hood as the gatherer of the dead ceased. From that point forward, each god would be responsible for their own worshippers. Rake's confrontation with Dasamulta was a part of this elaborate scheme. By ensuring his own death at the hands of Dasam, a former devotee of Hood, Rake allowed for the necessary conditions to free the Gate of Darkness. This act, while it led to his disintegration, was a calculated move to relocate the gate to a new anchor point created in Black Coral, a location deeply connected to the Tiste Andi. This plan also involved a shift in the roles of gods and ascendants. With Hood entering Dragnipur and being released from his role as the god of death, there was a significant shift in power dynamics. The gods of war, including Fenna, Tretch, and others, were now responsible for their own worshippers. This shift was a critical step in the plan, as it allowed for the final step, the breaking of Dragnipur. During this conflict, Cartographer led Master Quell's carriage into Dragnipur, as previously arranged by Hood. Tok the Younger, following the carriage with Cartographer as his guide, was tasked with delivering a crucial message to all gods of war. Amidst this, Tok encountered Pika's wandering soul and tasked her with delivering Hood's message to Kasa Orlong, instructing him to remain in Darujistan to fulfill his vow of killing a god. These actions marked Tok's final deeds as Hood's herald before Hood released his soul, to be claimed by another unnamed god. Hood also released the Segule II from his service, assigning him the final task of traveling to Darujistan to guard Dragnipur from those seeking to claim it. The second, alongside Kasa Orlong, Tulas Shorn, and others, fought and drove off the Hounds of Light, culminating in his freedom to pursue his nemesis, Skinner. As the battle within Dragnipur raged on, Hood saved friend Draconus from being consumed by chaos, declaring that it was not yet Draconus' time. Following Anomander Rake's entry into the sword and his ultimate sacrifice, which ended Chaos's eternal pursuit of the wandering Gate of Darkness, Hood acknowledged Rake's fulfillment of their bargain. However, Hood contemplated ceasing his involvement now that Rake was gone. This thought was quickly chastised by Whiskey Jack, who reminded Hood of his duty and the importance of honoring Rake's sacrifice, prompting the god to accept his judgment. Caladan Brood's arrival and the subsequent destruction of Dragnipur marked the culmination of the plan. The breaking of the sword released the remaining prisoners, including Hood and Draconus, effectively neutralizing the long-standing threat posed by Dragnipur. This act also set in motion the final phase of Rake's strategy. Rake, in an act of sacrifice, used his soul to power the gate, allowing the Gate of Darkness to finally leave the wagon that it had been bound to for so long. Rake's sacrifice had far-reaching consequences, extending beyond the mere relocation of the Gate of Darkness. It served as a catalyst for Mother Dark to forgive the Tiste Andi and turn her attention back towards her children. This momentous act restored the connection between the Tiste Andi and their ancestral realm, Kurald Galain. The Gate of Darkness, now liberated from the confines of Dragnipur, was free to return to its natural migration patterns, re-establishing the Tiste Andi's access to their spiritual and ancestral home. With the destruction of Dragnipur by Caladan Brood, a new era dawned for the Tiste Andi. The freedom of the Gate of Darkness from Dragnipur's grasp not only signified the end of a dark chapter in their history, but also heralded the rekindling of their lost spiritual connection with Mother Dark, thus bringing closure to their long-standing estrangement and reigniting a sense of purpose and belonging among the Tiste Andi. Thank you for listening, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe and comment for ideas of the next video.